One day when I retire and nobody can cancel me anymore, maybe I'll share a few. Hey, you know what's not a joke though? Freaking
What?
taxes.
No.
Taxes. Ugh. All right. What we're going to talk about today is changes on your 2024 tax returns. And I believe Chris is going to lead the way with what we've got going here, huh?
Well, yeah, there's a lot happening this year, right? You've got a new presidential administration that's begun. The former commissioner, he's like stepped away. There's an indefinite hiring freeze, right? So there's going to be less people going through returns. And they're talking about the ERS, right? The was it the External Revenue Service, right? And that's going to be looking for tariffs. So a lot's going on. So, but this is what is exactly going to affect you. The 2024 child tax credit, well, the maximum remains at 2,000, but for all those qualifying children 17 and under, well, the refundable portion, got bumped up, right? So you could take home 1,700.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's unfortunately well, not fortunately. It's fortunately changing there. There's actually, I was looking through some of these. There's a lot of changes there. You remember when I believe it was Janet Yellen that was like, "Hey, we're going to make the 1099K reporting threshold be $600." So I don't know if you had a pool guy and you're like, "I'll give you $100 to do my pool," and every month, let's say just for every month he did your pool, and you sent him $1,200. They were like, "Oh, well, now he's going to get a 1099." It's true, but it's not true. So hang with me here for just a second. The way this works is it's a phase-in period. So for 2024, you're at $5,000 for if you spent that much through Venmo or Cash App or whatever it may be. For 2025, it's going to be $2,500, and then supposedly for 2026, it's going to be $600. Well, the trouble is, it used to be $20,000 and 200 transactions. So you had to fit that criteria to get a 1099. Well, then for whatever reason, they came after that and they said, well, we're going to lower that. So we'll see where that goes. But for 2024, it's $5,000, and it doesn't matter how many transactions you had. If you did that kind of stuff through Venmo or PayPal or whatever it may be, then that's what you're going to have to deal with. So careful there. If you get a 1099, you're going to have to deal with it. A 1099K, by the way. Up next.
How about if you make under, if you make under 84,000, right, as your adjusted gross income, well, you can file your taxes for free. So you kind of just go to the IRS.gov, and they say you can use the search function, but we know that search function is not very good, and they'll work with tax preparation providers out there. So if you make under that amount, you can file your taxes for free. So save you a couple pennies.
Yeah, I actually ended up checking this out just to see what was going on there. And, it's for simple tax preparation. It's not for those of you that have complex rental properties and, K1 distributions and all that stuff. So careful there. The next one that I've got is, the tax brackets change. So each year they adjust for inflation, and they're actually a little bit more favorable here this year. So make sure you understand where your tax brackets are. Because remember, in 2024, you look back at the 2024 tax bracket, and then you go, well, wait a minute, I can still make an IRA contribution, an HSA contribution. Maybe you weren't that high up in the brackets. You took some time off, had a kid, whatever. Maybe you make a Roth contribution. You have until tax deadline to make that happen. So careful there. Just make sure you know what the top of the tax brackets are. And if you have a chance to bring yourself from the 22 to the 12, well, that's a 10% savings there. If you don't know, get some help, right? jazzwealth.com. We're financial advisors here. We'd love it if you check us out. Otherwise, just, watch more videos and learn more from us, things like that.
People do that.
Yeah.
They just watch us for years and say, hey, you taught me a lot. We appreciate it.
I love it. What's next?
Well, the standard deduction is up, right? So you can either take the standard deduction or you can itemize, right? Just typically it's easier and most folks go with the standard deduction. So if you're a single filer, your standard deduction is $14,600. If you are head of the household, $21,900. And if you're married, filing, jointly, or you're a surviving spouse, that's pretty important. Your standard deduction is 29,200. So, but there's a kicker, right? If you're 65 and older, you can have like a supersized deduction. So you can, if you're single, it's 1,000. It's all about $2,000. And if you're married filing jointly, well, then you can kick it up 1,550.
Yep.
So you get a little supersized deduction.
And that's a big one there, because I get so many clients that are like, hey, if I add to this, or if I do that, or if I, should I pay this off or whatever? And it's like, well, wait a minute. Let's look at your standard deduction. Do I give money to charity? I'm not saying you don't, but like at the end of the day, it's like, well, don't forget that these standard deductions are double the amount that they used to be prior to the Trump tax credits. And so we may not need to do anything crazy here. You may already have the max deduction that you can get. I came across that last year, and I'm sure we're going to come across it this year. My last tip is, all right, look, there's you don't have to use TurboTax. You don't have to use H&R Block or whatever. If you have a basic filing, there's something called Direct File. It's on the IRS site there. They had about 12 states last year. This year, now we're up to like 26, 25 different states that you can actually use there, which they estimate is about 30 million people. If you have a really basic filing, or you have a child that just started a new job and only worked one job, and it's really simple, they just have to file their tax return, get a refund back or whatever, maybe they consider using the IRS's Direct File program, which is expanding. I don't know how this happens without TurboTax lobbying to push this out of the way, because they're kind of the dominant force there. But even though TurboTax may have a free option, you can just do it right with the IRS. So I'm not saying it's better. I don't know that it's better, but something to consider there. If you are looking for a really simple filing there, you can do it with the Direct File program. So there you go.
Well, last and certainly not least, the extended tax deadlines, right? So if you were in a natural disaster, well, the IRS is kind of give you a little relief, right? And so if you were caught in Hurricane Helene or the LA fires, well, then you got a little breathing room, right? So your deadline of April 15th is, can be pushed back well into 2025, right? So that give you a little breathing room there, a little time to figure out, oh, hey, where are my tax documents, right? Did they get whisked away, or did they get burnt up? Right? That happens, right? Right. So, and then obviously if you owe taxes, you're in a pretty tough spot anyway. So that deadline kind of give you a little room.
I feel like we had a lot of that recently with the hurricanes we had here, and over the years between COVID and then having the hurricanes that we had in Florida. That's where we're based. So it's kind of normal for us, but something to point out, especially Texas. A couple of years ago, Texas had some issues there too. So it's just one of those things to know that your deadline may not be April 15th. I think it's April 16th in this year. So be mindful of that. Now, you still have to make your estimated tax payment. So they're like, hey, if you think you owe 10 grand, you better pay the 10 grand. But if you don't quite get around to the filing, because like you said, maybe some paperwork got burnt in the California fires or, disintegrated in the hurricanes. It's sort of a weird thing to say, actually, but these things happen. And so they're giving you that break there. So there you go. You have a handful of things here to help you with the changes in your 2024 tax returns. Feels weird to say that, but that is it. Anything else you want to add, Chris?
Yeah, always pay your taxes, but don't tip Uncle Sam.
Hey, that's his thing. He says that. Don't tip Uncle Sam.
Yeah, always pay, never tip.
Yeah, pay what you need to pay, but don't be tipping people now. Well, everybody else but the IRS. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Adios.
See you next time.